Hello again. There was a time when I would treat seriously those who appeared in the comments here and told me that I was a disgraceful racist and that they had complained to YouTube repeatedly in efforts to have me banned from the platform. I used to read what these people said and then attempt to explain why I thought they were mistaken. It was a waste of time. They had no interest in discussing matters. They simply wished to see an end to my channel. Why they were unable simply to watch something else on YouTube rather than coming regularly to see a man whom they evidently loathed and whose every word angered and enraged them, I never could quite understand. But there, some folk enjoy being outraged, and I suppose they get some pleasure from watching me and being able to indulge in a self-congratulatory fit of self-righteousness afterwards. Now, a few of these folk boast of complaining to YouTube about every video which is posted on this channel, which is fine. YouTube have not yet taken any of these complaints seriously. But what is very odd is that several of those making these regular complaints do not actually watch the videos about which they complain. This puts me in mind rather of people like Mary Whitehouse years ago, who would sometimes complain to the authorities about some film or play which they said was disgusting, and then, when questioned by a journalist, would sheepishly admit that they had not actually seen the thing about which they were complaining. Some of my fiercest critics are a bit like that. Yesterday, I released a short piece, less than 7.5 minutes long, in which I asked if there was a link between ethnicity, nationality, and crime in this country. I give a link to this in the description of this video. I discussed, among other matters, for example, the fact that burglars in Britain are almost without exception young white males. And I also mentioned the dreadful paedophile ring in the West Midlands, whose members have recently been sent to prison. I gave a link to the BBC report on the case. Anybody watching the video would of course know this. I even gave the names of two of those convicted and remarked that they sounded like traditional English names. Here is a comment by somebody styling himself at Brian Perry. 21 persons were convicted for child sex abuse. All of them were white British nationality. An old friend who concealed his identity by using the pseudonym Racialist Slayer 1395 replied as follows: Simon is not reporting on them because he's afraid he will be implicated as well. At Martha Shields 2446 then replied, well said. What are we to make of this? Obviously, none of these three people has actually watched the video or read the description where I give a link to the case. That being so, why on earth are they discussing it? How can you possibly talk about a video which you have not actually watched? Then a little later, somebody styling himself Nick Baxter 8797 commented, I see from today's papers that a huge child abuse case in the Midlands has just concluded with long sentences for a group of people who, from their names, appear to be white British. I am confident that Webby will not be doing one of his monologues on this case any time soon. Upon which Racialist Slayer 1395 replied, according to Simon, it isn't a crime unless the perp is not white. You are right. Then a fellow called at Africa 1000 commented. He said, is there a link between ethnicity and crime such as mass shootings, paedophilia or burglary? In the video on which he was commenting, I said the overwhelming majority of burglars are young white working class males. All this is peculiar. I can think of only two possible explanations for what we are seeing here. The first would be that these people are breathtakingly and almost unbelievably stupid. Their attention span is so limited that they are unable to watch a 7-minute film and then remember anything at all about the content. If this really is the problem, then describing these folk as stupid rather understates the case. They must have the IQs of tapeworms, not just ordinary, averagely intelligent tapeworms either, but tapeworms which have been dropped on their heads as babies. If so, then clearly those people require our compassion rather than contempt. The second explanation would be that these are malicious and vindictive liars. That is to say, they know perfectly well what I've said in the video, but they are pretending to other people that I actually said something quite different. My feeling is that this is a more likely scenario. One of the people whom I have quoted has boasted of never watching the videos about which he so regularly complains, so it makes sense to discover that he doesn't know anything about the content, really. This, then, is why I seldom engage with the more excitable and aggressive of the people who comment here, threatening me with all kinds of dire consequences if I don't pay attention to them. They are either so dull-witted that they would be unable to follow a simple conversation, or they are pathological liars who would not recognise the truth if they met it in the road. Whichever it is, life is really too short for me to trouble myself with them.